to get our West River Walk that come on this side of the river. It's actually a river trail because it's not necessarily over the river, it's along the river. And it will walk around, which will help part of that diabetes, part of that overweight, part of that health thing Mike talking about. And it's also will bring people from the East River Walk, the East Side River Walk to the West Side River Walk. And we'll be interconnected, connectivity between the downtown, Channel Side, and Armature Works will all be connected once we get that going. And so we got Hart's going to be doing some bus stop improvements because we had people sleeping on this and that. And then finally, art. You cannot have a successful development in a slum and blighted area unless you got art. And one of the things that the related group and the group, the housing authority, they believe in art in their work. And so anytime they do a building and thing, they put a beautiful mural on the face of Bethune High Rise. They put LaFord, one of the top international artists, LaFord, did a sculpture called A Wave of the River, I believe, down. I was down there for that dedication that day, beautiful day. And it sits right there between their development, between Oregon, what is that? Oregon and Willow. Oregon and Willow. And they have a statue sculpture sitting back up in there that she calls the river. And so that's that. And then we also have the box wraps. We just started wrapping our signal boxes. There's some that the city owned that we can wrap with art. And we've got a committee actually that moving forward with that, putting about $35,000 onto that. And then finally, we got ADA improvements to our parks, Martin Luther King, Ray Park, South Seniors. We're going to get to Martin Luther King Park too. And then we have those ground mules that they put in the street. Now, I would say this, the West Tampa CDC, Mike, and as know, and I will break the news on this, even though it's 1 year ago, we had an opportunity to sign a lease agreement for 3,780 square feet at the wrong yard. We've already laid it out as far as the workforce areas, the areas to be developed. And we've already signed the lease, and we're just sitting on it, being real quiet about it, okay? Because until the building's built, nothing's going to happen. And that's where we'll be based out of. All this programming that Mike had on the wrong, it wasn't wrong, actually it was right. The wrong PowerPoint he had, that's where all of that's going to take place, you know, because we've been pretty much virtual, but we haven't been because we're involved with the CRA. And so the CRA has been very vital, very important, and a vital tool to having economic power by having money to put in all these projects. And we've got somewhere around $30 million floating around that's still being spent. And I haven't even talked about the grant program that with the city kept horsing around with facade grant. They didn't horse around with it, call it another grant. And they just kept switching around. And now they call it commercial. Now they don't call it commercial. They got exterior, commercial interior, facade, pre-development level 1, pre-development 2, special projects. We had vanilla shells, so they wrapped them all up, twisting them around, come up with some new policies. But that's where we are. But at least we're tracking it, because one of the things I want to know tracking. I want to know what we spent money on and where we plan on spending money, and how much money we got left to spend, and how much money we got coming in down the road over the next 18 years. So, Mike, that's a summary, not all, but in addition to that, we've got the boutique hotel coming down on Howard. Recently we had, now we have adults here, so we have adult restaurant and bar lounge, restaurant lounge, the Madison 2.0, right on Main and Howard. We got the 17, or is it, I think it's 17, what was it, 2106, the venue 2106, that's been quite popular as an adult establishment. We have the Cotton Club that's been through a renovation, now called the Social Club, that's coming back. And we have other infill to several $1 million of houses infill throughout this whole CRA. And they're averaging $400,000 and $500,000 and going up. And we're saying, how can anyone afford that? And you can't. And we even have down pay assistance programs up to $250,000. you can't afford that. So our mission is to find how to get more properties around here affordable. And if not, then we need to build more by working with people at Tampa Housing Authority. As a matter of fact, the students of University of South Florida, we also team up with South Florida and a lot of other groups, but a lot of things we do don't necessarily get public. You know, it's not big news. But we have one of the big factories on Albany, and I believe Walnut was converted to students for South Florida medical students staying there now. And they sold out. And it has 10 or 12 townhouses sold out. And then we also had right up the street from that on Cherry and Albany, another factory was bought. And it is a wholesale winery there. They sell wine by the keg. Now, I don't know if you know anything about wine, but they import their wine in vats from overseas in Spain. And they have a facility there real quietly that they have one of the largest distributors of wine and kegs. And if you know anything about wine, you have a cork, right? Well, air can get through the cork unless you lean it on a rack to keep the wine and keep the perimeter of the cork wet. In a keg, wine can last almost indefinite. So it holds wine longer. It keeps it fresher. And it's right here in West Tampa. See, a lot of people don't know that. And they have people real quietly. It's a private family. And they even got the clock. They went through a major renovation to have this clock that used to time the bell for cigar workers. It now times the bell at night. They cut off at night because people don't have it going on too late. And it now chimes the time during the day for people in West Tampa. So those are just some of the, and not only that, the streets. If you walk down Main and Howard, you see streets have been repaved. We're working on a million. They got a big project which is outside of Saturday, getting ready to get launched for McDill Avenue. So there's things going on. And now the other thing is that we pride ourselves that we have the river. And I got to say this. We also have in the CRA Blake High School, named after Howard W. Blake, a black man, a black principal for the original. And there's two major things going to happen down in that area about Blake High School. First, Blake ain't going nowhere, so cut the rumors out. It ain't going to be bought to put no stadium for the Rays. That ain't going to happen. That may happen at Evo Harbor, but that ain't going to happen over there. Like I tell them, they'll take Jefferson before they take Blake. Blake is on the river, and Blake has a rowing team, one of the few black schools with a well, not black school, that's integrated now, but one of the few schools that was black with a rowing team that they can have, and they got a name and had that they can row their way to Yale and Harvard and all the Ivy League schools. The other thing is that it's a performing arts magnet. Now they just added another performing arts magnet school in South County. I said, what? Out at Newsom. You should see the facility they built at Newsom to compete with Blake. I guess they don't want to come all the way here, so they're going to build one out there where they at in South County. Okay, that's fine. And then finally, the last thing that, a lot of people was mad at me because I didn't come down to the school board and fight to keep Justin Stewart. And there's a reason why I didn't do that, because I knew that very quietly, very, very quietly, that no, we didn't want no Montessori to be made out of just, no, we didn't want to get rid of Project Link. No, that wasn't it at all. Is that I wanted brand new. I want brand new schools for my community, since we have West River, which is somewhere around $500 million and growing development, and Rome Yard. That's almost $500 million and growing. It ain't at the ground yet, but it's coming, trust me, to be built. And in the middle, you got these two schools, historically black schools, Ernest E. Just and Blake, the old Blake, which is Stewart now, Stewart Science Magnet. And I said, I don't want that raggedy stuff down there, man. I want some brand new superintendent. It started with Addison Davis, and I finished it with Van Ayers. And we had a meeting. I said, what you gonna do? Okay, because I'm not gonna back down. I'm embarrassed with what I know. Next thing I know, decision was made to rebuild Just and rebuild Stewart. Reason it's called rebuild, we don't have to change the name. We can keep the name the same. We don't have to go renaming it. So it's going to be a rebuild for somewhere around 75, 70, $80 million and growing right there in place. And right up the street, Blake's going to be there. And Blake has had its football field. And I'm going to finish with this last major event It was just renovated to the tune of $5 million. A high school football field renovated. Now, the scoreboard blew away with the hurricane, but we get another new digital board. And guess what we have there? We have the Sun Women's Soccer Team. Major soccer team, women's soccer league team plays at Blake High School on the river with a $5 million upgrade of their stadium. When they disappear and go to their permanent home in Evo City, that improvements will all stay there at Blake High School for them to use, for children to use from now on. See, those are the kind of things that I push for, even though people don't like me. They don't like that I don't go along with them sometimes. No, it's not that at all. It's just that I want to make sure we have better plans, long-term plans, and I want brand new for my community. I don't want no raggedy used secondhand nothing. And that's why we've been successful. It's because you got to start at the bottom. You got to listen to the people at the bottom, and you got to tell the people at the top, no, we ain't doing that. No, ain't doing that. Now, y'all don't ever see me doing it, but believe me, I have some real, we call them spirited conversations, okay? Spirited conversations about what the hell don't happen over here. And that is why the mayor called me the mayor of West Tampa, even though some people don't like that, wrote negative letters about it. But that's the way it is. And as long as I'm around here, that's the way it will be. And that's just a synopsis, Mike. So you didn't have a bad meeting tonight, but these 12, 13, whatever people got on here tonight, they got something that everybody else ain't got. And some of the people sit on the advisory committee, they know about it, but some of the things I throwed in there, they didn't know about. But I just want to say that and say, if I can make it back at your next one, it'd be hard to repeat me saying this, but that was my report of what's going on and how we all integrate, how we all collaborate, and how we work together, regardless of race, creed, or color. And we ain't worried about DEI, okay? Because we've been DEI since 1800s, okay? So DEI don't affect us, okay? Hey, we taking it to another level. We call it ours. I put the flip on the DEI. You know what the flip is on the DEI? We already performance-based, okay? We already performance-based. So, and we already merit-based over here. So we merit-based in West Tampa, meaning that we merit to have some work done over here because we done the hard work, the research, the studies, and the facts prove it. And just look at your wonder. So one day, when you're coming down 275 in Tampa, Florida, look here, you come through, and matter of fact, you will know where we at because I got FDOT to put signs going and coming in brown as best I could get out of them to say West Tampa Historic District. And if you come off the extra of 1 Howard Avenue, you in the core and the beginnings of West Tampa. So that's where we're at, and there's plenty more to come. But that's the synopsis of the last, actually 40 years, 50 years of trying to make a difference in a slum and Black community. I let everybody know we still slumming Black. You know why? But we still want to get the money and we still want the product. Don't never tell them we ain't slumming Black, because we still is in pockets. But some of that disappearing, but we always slumming Black till them years run out on that CR. And that's it, Mike. Because I got
So Joe, you were so on time with that information. See, my part at the CDC is to do the programmatic side of the table relating to creating programs and things of that nature. Where Joe part is to actually be there, making sure that programs are working in the best interest of the West Tampa community. I apologize again for the video that I showed that was a draft. I'm going to be sending everybody the original, the more clean version of that. It's so important because we had so many people to sign up for this particular meeting, especially people that was coming from around the nation. What I'm going to do is to send this video to everybody that signed in for the sign up for the meeting. And I mean, we had groups and neighborhood groups all over the place to sign up, in addition to people from around the country that wanted to see how can an organization like West Tampa, who has no money, no website, and no office, yet is able to facilitate the service necessary to make sure residents are truly empowered. I'm so happy about this artificial intelligence. When we start that down on Rome Street, we're going to be the enemy of the nation when it comes to a small, poor community that's ahead of the game in terms of technology. I will promise to send this video to everybody in the clean version. When I send the email out, I'm gonna give an option date for those that wasn't able to attend another meeting. But I think Joe brought it home. There's no place like a Joe Robinson in West Tampa. I take and salute that particular brother because I call him a gangster for his community. And we know in neighborhoods, if you're in a gangster, they will walk all over you. So, Joe, I definitely want to give you your flowers, man, your flowers, and say, man, we appreciate you at West Tampa. And as far as people hating on you, that means you're doing the right thing. That's why people hate. So we really appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody that got in to the meeting tonight. When I send you that other video, you're going to see how we definitely are at the forefront of doing what we need to do to change the narrative in West Tampa. And once we open our doors up, people are going to say, wow, how were y'all able to move so quick? Well, because we planned this for 5 years. So we was waiting to actually get into that physical office. I want to give a shout out to Dauphine. She's a great leader of her neighborhood group. They don't play, you know, and it was because of people like that, neighborhood leaders like her, that actually make the difference. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Janice Williams, who's also out there. Folks, when you get this video, you have to understand the only way you change your neighborhood is when leaders from the community step up and change the narrative. We are truly a resident driven a narrative. We build from within and then we build out. That's the key solution to how do you build neighborhoods with the leaders that's here tonight and the people that's taking part of this. That's how we change the narrative. You don't have to have money. You just have to have good leadership, good planning, and good partners in order to make a difference. So I hope this any neighborhood that feels so you don't have no money and you can't do anything, you will learn from West Tampa that it's not about the money will come. If you create the programs and the project, the money will come. So again, anybody got anything to say before we get out of here tonight? Again, I apologize for the rough side. I want to definitely send y'all the clean version. Athena, anything you want to say about how important it is that neighborhood groups play part in the strategy to change that neighborhood?
That's the key component. As you know, we work very hard, like Mr. Robinson say, years and years of planning, and that's what it takes. You got to sit at the table and pound and pound and pound.
And
It's
Athena,
for
tell them what neighborhood group you represent in West Tampa.
the West Riverfront Crime Watch Group.
Okay,
Yeah,
and they don't play. You know,
okay.
let me tell you about West Tampa. The one thing I learned in West Tampa, that's why I love it so much. West Tampa used to be a city in and of itself. And it still feels like it's a city in and of itself. When you step in West Tampa and you act stupid because you think you can come in and not contact the movers and the shakers, you learn really, really quick that homie don't play that. You know, that's what I love about West Tampa. And Janice, how you doing? You've been waiting in terms of what you're doing because you don't get paid for this. What do you think the solution is when it comes to communities being empowered?
I think it's important to look out for one another, but also be vocal and go to your city council meetings. If you can volunteer on a board or whatever, do that. But just remember, you have a voice and a say in your community, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That's the That's the bottom line. That's the crux of it. And you're going to meet wonderful people like you, Mike, like Delphine, like Joe. You have we have so much in common because we're dedicated to the community. So just hang in there, see who else might have the same interest you have. And if there's an issue, let the mayor know or go to your city council, or go to your county representative. That's how you really start.
And this, let me add to that, related to community empowerment. You need a person like Joe Robinson, that person that will tell you, you better check in when you come here into this neighborhood. Because if you don't check in when you come into this neighborhood, you'll find out the hard way. So for all those neighborhoods that's out here that's gonna get this video from around the nation, you have to take a position that we own this. And when you come in here to this community right here, you better recognize and you better show respect. Anything else, anybody else have to say before we leave tonight? And even though I did an upside down with job, folks, I love y'all. Because even if that's the case, y'all still showed your support. Because again, this is all about family. Anybody else before we sign out tonight? Any other last thoughts?
Mike, I just want to thank you for all the work that you do, that you have done, and that you'll continue to do. Thank you for your love for this community and your dedication as well.
I could not do this without the leaders. See,
I want
when
to
people tell you it's a one-person show, it never is. It's different leaders, it's different players that see here tonight that make the changes necessary. And I can tell you right now, and I promise you this, when we open up our door on Rome Avenue, we're going to have people from around the nation come to see how is it that this community was able to not only change the narrative, but create a technological conscious community where people use artificial intelligence as a mechanism to get ahead.
Hey,
So
Mike.
again, everybody, I want to
Hold up,
thank
Mike.
you.
Mike, I want to thank you, man. You've been in there, in and out with health reasons. I mean, man, when I first met you, because you know you from Baltimore, and I know about Baltimore now. Come on, get up in there, man. Down up in there by the cemetery and all. But listen, man, like I said, Mike, thank you, man. Because I'm telling you, you give me motivation to keep doing this, man.
Yeah.
When I hear you speak, and
Ride or die. Here and there, ride or die.
man, I'm telling you,
Y'all ride or
you keep
die.
me going. Sometimes I just say, why am I doing this? But every time I see how you just push forward and keep this thing going and keep the CDC going, man, hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Love you, man.
Now, folks, that's looking at it from around the country. You see the love in this community? That's how we loving on each other. Because we know at the end of the day, really, and I hate to say this, but anybody gonna come and save us but us. And you got to be committed. Nobody that talks this now get paid. We all do this on a voluntary basis. Sometimes I put in 10 hours a week and doing something related to the CDC. Because I made a commitment when I first became on board as a staff person that I would never leave. I would never turn my back until that day when West Tampa is where it needs to be. And I do that because of your Joe Robinson, because of your Athena, because of your Dolphine, because of your Janice Williams, people like that. And I hope people get from this the show the love in West Tampa. We don't hate on anybody, but we refuse to be told on how we should work our community. So if you're loving on us, come on. If you're hating on us, that's okay too. Because we're going to do what we need to do to take us to the next generation. Folks, thanks again. I appreciate it. I'll be getting this information out to everybody.
I have one more comment.
Please, anything,
I
any
just want,
concerns
I
that you
just
have, please.
want, just want people to know, just because you're in your neighborhood doesn't mean that's where you're gonna stay. Because people gonna phone you up and ask you questions, and you got to go outside your neighborhood and do something for other people. I don't limit myself to what I do. I work in West Tampa, but when people need me, I'm there.
And these are the true
That's how
soldiers.
you have to work it.
These folks, these are the true. So I'm so happy because I have planned on just talking about the programmatic side of the table. Artificial intelligence, workforce, the home-based business, the e-commerce. But what happened tonight is that you got the real deal from the real people behind the scene. I thank you for sharing those information with us. And I'm telling you right now, when we open up our door, people are going to try to understand how did they get so fast? How did they develop so fast, so quick? Folks, we've been doing this for 5 years, planning this to come back and take our seat. We know that when we was alive and alive and functioning as the CDC, nothing could get past West Tampa. When we left, because people was hating on us, and they thought we was going to die and go back. When we left, the community went down. Now that we back, we're taking it back up again because it's community first. That's our philosophy. We like the child that fell down and got back up. That's the story we're trying to share with the nation. You're going to fall down, for sure. And when you're doing too good, that people say you're doing too good, and you don't need them, they're gonna try everything they can to bring you down. And Joe know they crucify us in the papers about negative things. But at the end of the day, when they came and said everything was okay, the only paper that actually publicized that West Tampa was clear all the time was the Florida Sentinel. In the meantime, we lost all kind of funding because of negative publicity. They didn't understand that we wasn't going to die. Because we understood that we had to do this to death in order to make sure that we change the narrative. So I'm saying this to people that's listening to us, that this gives you some type of inspiration related to your neighborhood. Joe Robinson, Janice Williams, and Darlene, y'all folks are the reason why I do what I do. Y'all give me the energy to do what I do. When you know that somebody and people depending on you to move that dial, then you get up every day and you do the right thing. Again, Joe Robinson, man, you're definitely a soldier. And when I say this brother's an OG, a gangster, I can't overemphasize. If you're a gangster in your community, people will run over you. So that being said, I want to thank everybody again for coming up to tonight's meeting. I'll be getting that information out to y'all, the clean version of the presentation, much more clear, much more impactful, and much more on point as to what we want to do. We got the nation looking at us, folks, about what we're doing here in West Tampa. And we're a small community compared to the other communities in West Tampa, yet we're outperforming even organizations that got 10, 15 employees. Because you know why? We have no choice. So anyway, folks, thanks again. I'm going to be signing off. And y'all just made my night tonight. Thanks again.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.